Elaine is an entrepreneur at heart, founding investment management and internet development companies. She also spent years focusing on her passion for renewable energy by leading significant renewable projects. Elaine was recently recognized as a semifinalist for the EY Entrepreneur of the Year, a finalist for the DBJ Outstanding Women in Business, and Colorado Biz CEO of the Year. I'm honored to welcome Elaine Feeney to the stage this afternoon. Thank you.
Good afternoon. I'm inspired by all of you. I'm inspired because I got to sit next to Barbara and hear about her story. I missed it this morning, but many of you heard about it. So there's no place I'd rather be than in this room with these amazing women. And I have the next 15 to 20 minutes to tell you a little bit about myself and help you, hopefully, choose to lead. Right? That's the theme of this entire conference. And I have, some tidbits I'm going to talk through. I'm going to talk a little bit more about like personal experience, things that I've learned, things that I would tell my younger self, things that I would tell my 12-year-old daughter, Felicity, who's in the back of the room here with me today, because when I found out I was speaking about women leadership to the next generation of leaders, that's what I thought about. What would I tell Felicity? So I've been a leader, a woman leader, for 25 years. Some people would argue 45. This year I'll be 46. There's something about being closer to 50 than 40 that really hits you. So maybe I've earned the right to give you some advice. So take or leave what you hear today. The main thing is, my background. I'm a native from Colorado. I grew up in Fairplay. I was the youngest of 8 children, went to South Park Elementary School. It exists, it's real. I went there, I'm a product. I'm not, you'll read a lot of books. I'm an executive, I'm the CEO and president of Weigh In. I've read a lot of the books, maybe you guys have as well, that are amazing, and I love Lean In from Sheryl Sandberg, and she gave me a lot of things to think about in my life, but I'm much more, I don't have a nanny, I don't have help, I'm much more, built from the ground up, and have been able to balance being a wife and a mother and a professional, and had different chapters I'm going to talk about. So there's 5 themes I'm going to talk about on advice that I would give you. The first one is, think of your life as a book with many chapters. So I think it's interesting, whenever my children say, Mom, I think I'm going to be X when I grow up, or what do you think I should be? I said, well, that can be one of the things you're going to be, right? It doesn't have to be one particular thing. You can have different passions. You can have different phases in your life where different lifestyles work better for you. It's okay. So if you start your career with that permission, it's amazing what that does to free yourself. My background is, I started college thinking I was going to, I was the president of the marketing association, and that's what I was going to do until I realized my friends were graduating made less than I did as a bartender. So I thought, I need to make more money than I can as a bartender, so I changed to computer science. I did that. I was a programmer, a mother. I left when my daughter was 2. I left Sun Microsystems. I was one of the youngest directors that Sun ever had. I left at the pinnacle of my career because I needed more flexibility. I worked out of my home, doing real estate investment and management, had an interest in clean energy. So I did that for about a decade. Then I had interest in clean energy, started doing that. And then I got wooed back to high tech into Weigh In, where I am now. So that's when I say you can have many chapters, I'm a living, breathing example of that. And it depends on the passion I have at the time. The second thing I think is important for all of us to understand is, and this is important for me to say out loud many times, it is different to be a woman leader than to be a male leader. I spent the first 20 years of my career I don't even know if I believed that. I definitely didn't acknowledge it. I read Sheryl Sandberg's book, and unwillingly, because I thought, oh, it's elitist, I don't believe in that, and I read it, I'm like, I've done all that. I've done all those things, and so let's talk about how it's different. Let's talk about how you develop respect and different mentors and the value you have as a woman. I mean, it's really interesting to me. There's many statistics. Companies are more financially profitable when they have women in leadership positions. So you as a woman, when you join a company and you're surrounded by males, especially in high tech, you don't have to be like them. In fact, if you are, you're going to devalue the company. They want women to come in and bring diversity of thought and the way that you problem solve. And you have to value that yourself and carry that through everything you do in the company. Don't try to emulate what other people do, because the way you think is valuable to them and they know that it's valuable to them. Why is it important to have women in leadership? Well, you probably heard these statistics this morning. 60% of the people graduating from college are women, right? Those are our leaders. Companies are more profitable. So you have to know that in your heart. You will be challenged at some point because you have different ideas or different approaches or different ways to think about things. Is it valuable? You need to know that and own it. Women are paid less. Everybody in here has to advocate for themselves. And you need to know that, and you need to know your value. You need to know when you go in the company, you need to do the market research, and you need to negotiate for yourself. You don't need to be the nice girl that if I do a good job, they're going to reward me for what I'm worth. And how do I know that? Because I did it. And how do I know that? Because when I was a new manager at Sun Microsystems, I had an amazing vice president. And he said, Elaine, we're going to go look at all the salaries throughout my entire organization and make sure men and women doing the same job are paid equally. I was like, oh, that's great, Terry. That's great. Let's do that. In my own organization, I had women that were paid less than men, and I didn't know it. I inherited them. They got started at lower salaries. He did huge adjustments. In some cases, we did $20,000 annual adjustments to bring them up. You have the responsibility to advocate for yourself. And when you get into a leadership position, you have the responsibility to look at it and think about it and adjust things and be the voice for those people. And sometimes, even when you're looking for it, you still miss it. I have a table of women that work for me in the back of the room and some other women that are here. My general counsel's a woman. My CFO's a woman. I'm so proud of the women leadership at Weigh In. What I'm not proud of is one of the women at a table back there had to come to me a few months ago and said, I'm not sure I'm getting paid what I'm worth. I said, really? Let's look at that. And me and my VP of HR looked at it and she wasn't. And she got a substantial adjustment. Don't assume people are looking out for you or that they know and they spend every day analyzing what you do and compare it. If you know, just ask. You have permission. You have my permission. Look in the mirror when you go to work and say, I have Elaine's permission. I'm going to have it in a respectful way. Nonlinear path. I'm still on nonlinear path. It's very nonlinear, just like my conversation. You need to know your career path, and the reason you're a woman, it's not going to go in a linear way that most men go in. A lot of women I counsel and I mentor are upset because there'll be a senior manager at an accounting firm and they want to have children, and well, if I step out and take time off and then I go back in, all these men that I trained that work for me, I'm going to work for them, and that's not fair. It's okay. Yeah, it's going to happen. It's going to happen. It's okay. You can change careers. I went from real estate to renewable energy and started as a project manager in renewable energy when I was a senior director, almost VP at Sun. It's okay. You have to know that you can make choices and you don't have to check things off in the same order that men have the luxury of doing in many ways. One of the things, how can we help each other? So, after I do This is my biggest passion in life. I'm so happy to be here today. I will do anything to help other women own their own power. After I give these talks, I often get requests to be a mentor for a lot of people, and I love what they said earlier today. Reach out and ask and find people. I can't do it as much as I'm asked. And so my advice and my call to action for you here today is every person in this room, if you want a mentor, the best way to find a mentor is to be one. You will be surprised how the karma of life comes around and how you're going to find the right people. Whatever stage you're at in your career, there's people who need you. Find that, give that energy and passion, and it's going to come back to you. My best 2 jobs in my life came from people that worked for me, that pulled me somewhere else. And so one of my points for saying that is when you network, everybody network up, right? When you leave, you got to contact your prior managers because they're gonna pull you there. It's always this. No, you know what? People sitting next to you today might pull you into a new job in a few years and you don't even know it. So your peers, people that work for you, it's a network. It doesn't have to be just hierarchical. Develop the relationships everywhere. Okay, now I'm on the 3rd point. Am I really out of time? Oh, it says 0. Okay. My 3rd point, be you. What does that mean? It's what I said earlier. Be you. Find your strengths, understand your weaknesses, and you can work to shore up those weaknesses, but you can also build teams around you of people to shore them up. I'm really good at coming up with ideas and having relationships and managing people and doing that stuff, and I'm really bad, Serena and Helen, wherever you are, will testify to this, at detailed task management and finance and contract review. That's not my strength. So you find people that can do that. And every CEO is different. Every manager is different. It's okay. You don't have to pretend that you can do everything as well as anybody else. Sometimes you have to do everything. I say being a CEO, you have to be a Swiss Army knife, especially at a startup. So if you can get it through and do it good enough, that's fine. But as soon as you have the luxury, find professionals to augment the things that you're not good at. Be you. Learn to say no. Learn to say no. It's okay. You're still a wonderful, compassionate, loving, caring woman, and you can't take care of the entire world and every need that your homeowners association needs, and the people down the street run the political campaign, and your neighbors, and your children, and the mentor. You can't. You have to figure out what gives you energy. I didn't learn this until I was in my 30s, so if you take one thing away from this, if it's not an absolute yes, if somebody asks you, will you do this? So when I got the request from Jane, will you talk at the Wild Summit for Women Leadership? It was absolute yes, period. I will change I will be there. That is a passion. I've gotten asked to do many other talks and it's not, and I don't have time, so it's a no. It's okay. You can learn to say no in a graceful way to everybody in your life. Practice that, because you won't have enough time. And find somebody, you might not have it now, but in your life, search to work for somebody that you admire and that you respect and that drives the best from you. It might not be, when I say drive the best from you, that doesn't necessarily mean it's always fun. It's a little uncomfortable, because that means they know what you're capable of, and they're going to always push you into that uncomfortable position. That's when you grow. So find that, and if you're in a situation that you have to deal with a job that you don't have that now, that's okay. But you can spend more time being thoughtful of what type of leader you want to work for going forward, because it's going to influence the majority of your day. Okay, number 4, own your own power. Right? And so again, I'm telling you this all about women, but I tell this to anybody. This is about, when I look in the Sheryl Sandberg book and they talk about sitting in the back of the room, cleaning the dishes, bringing the snacks, planning the company events, trying to keep that culture of community at work. If I asked everybody in this room to raise their hand if they've ever done any of that, I don't think there'd be any hands down, right? That's what we do. That adds to what your day job is, right? And so you can say, gosh, I wish people would stop expecting me to do this. Well, let me tell you something. You're setting those expectations. How do I know? Because I did it. I remember when I was in the solar energy field business, I used to go out to running these huge multi-million-dollar sites. I was the person running them. I would stop at Starbucks or whatever and pick up donuts or whatever and take them in the morning, when we had a big meeting. And I had a guy pull me aside one day. He goes, Elaine, don't bring the donuts tomorrow. And I was like, what do you mean? I always bring the donuts. He's like, don't bring the donuts. So remember that from today. Don't bring the donuts. It's not your job. You know what? You can bring them once in a while. You can make a schedule. Joe does it today, and Mike does it tomorrow, or last week, next week. You can be on that. When you go into your job, whether it's your first job or a job you've had forever, tomorrow, what you're doing, you are setting those expectations. And I can tell you, yesterday, we had an awards event for my company. And we had to pick up awards from different malls because they didn't have enough at the things remembered around. And so my assistant, who's in the back of the room, sent a note to all the women that live in those areas and said, could you go pick this up at, Helen and Serena and Elaine? So in the meeting, somebody called her out and said, yeah, Pam, I noticed there wasn't any men on that list. And my CTO was sitting there, who's a man. And he just kind of laughed it off. He goes, yeah, because they wanted it to get done. It's not okay. Guys, it's not okay. It's funny. Let's laugh about it and do it differently. If you're the person sending that note, send it to people equivalent and say, go pick this up. Make time in your schedule. I constantly tell the people in my office, everybody's responsible for picking up and doing the dishes. When we had to plan a ski event for our company a month ago, I picked 2 men. Go plan it. First thing they did is went and found Kelsey, who's in the back of the room, and said, Kelsey, can you be on this committee to make? But at least they had to think about it, and they appreciated everything she did. So we are setting these expectations ourselves, ladies. Of course, they're coming from other places, but they're not going to change unless you decide to help change them. And then my final note really goes in line with what I love about the video I just saw about choose to lead. And what does lead mean? One of my favorite quotes is by Andre Gide, and it says, one does not discover new land without consenting to leave sight of the shore for a very long time. When you're leading, you're doing things that other people aren't comfortable with. You're taking risks, you're taking challenges, you're setting new direction, and there's nobody better to do that. So embrace it, and I love what they said here is embrace it with a passion that you have. You don't have to lead everything. Find the things that matter to you, and you can lead those. Most of our barriers on what we choose to do in life, the different changes I've made in my career, people are amazed. They're like, Elaine, how did you get from software engineering to clean energy and real estate? I said, I don't know. I just wanted to. I don't have barriers in my mind. Right? Your barriers as to what you can do or be or what job or when you make a career change or whether you want to lead, most of the time it's not external circumstances that are stopping that. It's really what you believe in your own mind. And to give yourself, this is another one I want to emphasize, give yourself permission to fail. Because we give it to everybody else. People ask me, how do you innovate at Way In? I reward failure. I reward missing really high goals. We had our kickoff for this quarter yesterday, and I put up the colors of our key strategic corporate goals, and probably a little over 50% were green, 30% were yellow, and there was red on there. And I said, that's great. Why is that great? Because if they're all green, we're not pushing ourselves enough, right? If you are running a company or people around you and you got to give them permission to stretch and try and not make it the first time. But what's most important is you got to give it to yourself first. It's interesting. I had somebody tell me one time about when I was a junior manager and I was really frustrated when people just didn't do exactly, I gave them the instruction, it happened, it wasn't right, it wasn't good to me, so I just got to take it over, I got to do it myself. Nobody in here has ever felt that way, right? And she said, well, are you lowering expectations? Because maybe they have lives, and this is before I had children, I learned a lot. I said, oh yeah, really? They have something more important than this? And she said, yeah, Elaine. And I said, okay, I'm going to work on that. I'm lowering these, expectations for everybody else. And she said, you can't lower them for other people till you lower them for yourself first, right? Do you guys know that? It's true. You have to give the same compassion and care and love and forgiveness to yourself that you give to your children, that you give to your friends. We all have these amazingly high expectations of ourselves, and then you're afraid to fail. It's okay. It's okay. You don't have to be afraid. Trying to see what are the other key points that I haven't made already. I think the main thing that I wanted to get across is you don't have to know exactly what you want to do now, whether you're starting your career or in the middle of your career. You can make choices, and hopefully you can make choices with some of these things that I have said are going to be mantras that kind of go through your mind. And one of my favorite ones that I'm going to close with, and my daughter can probably come up here and tell you what it is, because I've been telling her, she's not going to. She's like, no, don't make me do that. But she could. I've been telling my daughter and my son this they probably, when they were little, I said, own your own power, accept all of it, and use it wisely. And you can do anything. Thank you.